Welcome everyone to NoDQ&A video here on NoDQ.com. I am the owner of NoDQ, Aaron Rift, here to talk about wrestling. WWE Raw was last night. I got a lot of feedback about the show. Not a lot of it was positive. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's get right down to your questions. Hey Aaron, I personally thought last night's Raw was one of the worst episodes in several years. I thought they dropped the ball on the entire walking out storyline. Your thoughts? I agree. Last night's Raw, not so good. They had been building up for several weeks this whole storyline with Triple H and R-Truth and Miz, and they had like 3 or 4 different small storylines going on, and last night on Raw, everything just came to a crashing halt. WWE basically hit the reset button and just decided to just end everything. They have their tour of Mexico coming up next week, and I guess they just wanted to have all the roster members back on the show and just end the storyline, and it was not executed well at all. Now, I liked the first 30 minutes or so of Raw. Triple H came out, talked about how the show was going to go on with or without the superstars in the back, and I guess they were backstage on strike or whatever. Triple H said that he could come out there with a broom and perform better than most of the guys in the back, so kind of burying all the talent on the roster. And I didn't really have a big problem with it. I was entertained by it. I would have liked to have seen Triple H with a broom out there just to see if he could live up to his words. And then John Cena came out, Sheamus came out, CM Punk came out. They all praised Triple H, and I was fine with this. You know, they had to have the baby faces come out and support the show and support Triple H. And, you know, they kind of kissed his ass a little bit. Sheamus talking about how, yeah, I beat you up and then you came back and kicked my arse. And I didn't really have a big problem with this. I was entertained, like I said. I liked CM Punk doing the commentary and saying, can I wear the blazer or whatever? And then once they had the match with Sheamus and John Cena, and then Vince McMahon came out, that's when the show fell off a cliff completely. Vince comes out, the crowd doesn't even react to Vince. It's like this is his big epic return and nobody really cares. And there's no announcer like JR there to say, oh my God, Vince McMahon is back. And you know, there's none of that. So there's just dead silence. Vince comes out. It says WWE Chairman on the Titantron. Vince comes to the ring and basically says that the board of directors have ruled to remove Triple H as COO and that there's a new Raw GM, and that it, for the time being, and that is going to be John Laurinaitis, whatever you want to call him. So this segment was really flat. Nobody really cares about John Laurinaitis. He comes out, the crowd boos, but as a lot of people have noted in the feedback to me, it's more like X-Pac heat, where the people don't want to see him. Period. They're booing him because they don't want to see him in the arena. They don't want to see him on the television. And yeah, I guess that pretty much is the end for the anonymous Raw GM storyline. They're apparently that's just it. Now they're going in a new direction with Laurinaitis as the GM. And then yeah, the rest of the show just a mess. John Morrison comes out in street clothes against Christian, and Morrison loses and then gets beat up by Christian's new faction with Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler. And yeah, it's not looking good for Morrison. You know, there's the rumors going around that his contract is coming up soon, so this could be a sign that they've completely given up on him, which is just really unfortunate. And then John Laurinaitis comes out and he invites JR into the ring. JR gets in and Laurinaitis proceeds to fire Jim Ross, and Jim Ross is like, whatever, dude. He just gets to the announce table and shakes Jerry Lawler's hand and just leaves. And I guess this was not in the Raw script, so JR didn't have any clue that this was going to happen, and it just seemed like it was WWE once again going out of their way, and Vince McMahon in particular, to humiliate Jim Ross and be able to embarrass him in his hometown. That's what this whole segment was about. So totally counterproductive. What does this accomplish? I totally agree with, you know, all the criticism about the show in terms of this with JR. What was the point? I don't know. And yeah, everybody looked bad on this show. All the good guys that were in the back protesting looked bad. Even Cena, CM Punk, and Sheamus looked bad for kissing up to Triple H so much. But Yeah, and we now have our main event for Vengeance. It's John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio, and Mark Henry versus Big Show. And by the way, they're trying to build up Mark Henry and Big Show. Yet the thing on Raw is Mark Henry versus Randy Orton, and Randy Orton's about to have Henry beat. So is that match happening in Vengeance? No, it's Big Show and Mark Henry. So that made no sense. Yeah, Raw for the most part made little to no sense, and yeah, they blew through all the whole storyline with the walking out and this thing with Triple H could have gone on for months, and they just ended it all in one night. All this stuff they built up basically for nothing, no payout or anything, and yeah, like I said with the anonymous Raw GM, no payout. So I can understand why a lot of fans were upset and disappointed, and that was Raw for you. And we have Vengeance coming up in 2 weeks and Survivor Series. I'm sure once The Rock comes back, people will forget about this Raw and just move on to the future. But for now, a lot of disgruntled fans out there, and I don't blame them at all. Should Jim Ross go to TNA, and will it help TNA? If Jim Ross went there, I don't think he's going to, but if he ever did, it's not going to make any difference. I'm sure it'll make a difference on the commentary, maybe a little bit, but once again, it's the quality of the product that counts. It's not so much the announcing, although JR would, I think, make somewhat of a difference, at least a little bit, in terms of presentation. If Jim Ross is out there, even if the product is really bad, Jim Ross would try his damnedest to make it sound good, and it might help a little bit. Hey Aaron, whatever happened to Zach Gowen? Zach Gowen has still been wrestling on the indie scenes. He's worked for a number of promotions, including Ring of Honor, and just he's stayed busy. And the thing about his WWE run was that it allowed him to get on national television, and people knew who he was. So once he left WWE, that enabled him to get more bookings and just get him more gigs. So the WWE stint, even though it was short, it did help him out a lot. Why does Bret Hart never get credit for his role and major impact in what was known as the Attitude Era? I strongly believe it began with Bret's promos and actions during the time of '97. He was the first one I ever heard swearing and manhandling Vince. Well, I don't think it was so much Bret Hart. Bret Hart also was he was very much against the whole Attitude Era. If you recall, he was talking about how it had become nothing but smut TV and something he would feel embarrassed for his kids to watch. So Bret wasn't really a big fan of the direction WWE was going in 1997, but he went along with it. He went out there, and I love that promo when he came out and shoved Vince and saying, "Frustrated isn't the goddamn word for it. This is bullshit." That was one of the defining moments of the early Attitude Era as it was starting to develop. That along with Brian Pillman pulling the gun on Austin, those angles were what started to build to the Attitude Era. And yeah, I mean, Bret was definitely part of the early Attitude Era, but I wouldn't say that he was a major player in it, because him personally, he was against it for the most part. All right, that about does it for No DQ&A video. Thanks for checking out the show. What'd you guys think of Raw? Definitely a lot of people talking about it, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, youtube.com/NoDQ&AV, and we will see you next time. Keep subscribing, youtube.com/NoDQ&AV. Thanks for watching.